Greetings, everyone. Welcome to this episode of This Week in Frax. I'm your host, DeFi Dave. I'm here with Capital K, and today we have a special guest on. We have Josh Fraser of Origin Protocol. He's the co-founder, and he has a very exciting new product, OETH, and we're going to go right into it. So, Josh, thank you so much for coming on this Frax review. We rarely have guests, but we have them for you.
Thanks so much. It's great to see you, and thanks for having me on, making an exception to your typical no guest rule.
Yeah. For the people back home, what is Origin Protocol, and what have you built with OETH?
So Origin Protocol has been around since 2017. We have different products in both DeFi and NFTs. But just in the last 2 weeks, we've launched this new product called Origin Ether, which is an easy way for people to stack yield on top of the native yield you can earn from LSTs like FrxETH. And so it's just a great way to earn more yield and put your ETH to work. So the way it works is you deposit your ETH or LSTs into OETH or Origin Ether, and then those LSTs are put to work in DeFi to try and earn you an extra yield, and then all of that automatically just shows up in your wallet. So it uses up-only rebasing. You don't have to do any work. You don't have to, claim any rewards. You don't have to stake anywhere. You don't have to do anything. Just buy it, hold it, watch your balance go up. And so this has been very well received. We're already at over 17 million TVL, 7-day trailing APY, and it's over 12%. So it's been doing really well so far, and we're just getting started.
Yeah, I feel like it's grown a lot because we were talking a bit last week, and I feel like people are seeing the opportunity here with 11%, 12% yield, which is quite juicy. Can you talk a bit about how you're partnering with Frax with OETH?
Yeah, so it's like I said, it's one of the three supported assets that we're using to earn this yield. So and we love FrxETH because it's earning the highest yield natively. So if you look at our dashboard, that's other than ETH itself, that's the second highest asset that's been deposited, and we love it because that helps us generate higher yields. So we're we hope that people, FrxETH holders, will come deposit their FrxETH and just stack that extra yield on top.
Yes, it's quite a positive sum addition to the Frax ecosystems to have something like OETH around, taking FrxETH and SFrxETH yields and whatnot.
Yeah. I mean, and what's cool here is we're building on another product we have, which is Origin Dollar, which has been around for a couple years. And so unlike, basically, if you can think of them the same way, I know Sam always talks about, stable coins, right? And think about things in context of stable coins. You think of OETH as a stable coin, it's just stable to ETH instead of to dollars. So it works kind of the same way. Instead of taking, Origin Dollar to have a USDC and DAI, deployed it into DeFi to earn a yield. It's, that product's still going strong. But there's a lot more sort of tailwinds with liquid staking right now, a lot more challenges facing the stablecoin market. But what's cool for users is that it's exactly the same code base. And so when you're putting your money ETH into these contracts, even though it's only 2 weeks old, this code has been battle tested with hundreds of millions of dollars. It's been online for multiple years, and it's been audited by Trail of Bits, Solidified, Satora, Open Zeppelin, over a dozen times now. So we have very thorough audits, and stood the test of time. Even when USDC depegged, we got to see how it performed during a pretty rough time. And so if we imagine, there may become a time when we see a major depegging of some of these backing LSTs as well. And so it's really nice to be able to have some code that's actually gone through that sort of experience and stood up really well, right? And during that time, Origin Dollar, was able to outperform didn't depeg as much as USDC did. And then at the end of it, we were earning 40-50% APY, and turned that FUD into cash. So that's kind of how we're, how we got to where we are. Just building on what we learned from Origin Dollar, fixing some of the mistakes, and then just building on the stuff that worked really well.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it all comes down to stable coins, whether ETH pegged or dollar pegged.
Exactly.
If I have FrxETH, I want to deposit it in OETH. How would I go about doing that?
It's really simple. You just go to OETH.com. We're really proud of that domain name. OETH.com, pull up a dApp, disconnect your wallet, deposit by OETH, and it will just mint the OETH there for you. It's 100% redeemable, so you can always get back out. Most people will just go to the curve pool because there's more than enough liquidity there, protocol owned liquidity, so it's guaranteed it's going to be there. It's not you're not going to get rugged on the way out. But worst case, you can always redeem with the vault, and you'll get a basket of assets right back out. So you kind of have two options there, depending on the size. Probably the size of your order is really what's going to determine what one's the best deal. But our dApp will actually route you to the best price. So if you can buy OETH for cheaper on our pool, it will just go ahead and send you there. Or if it's better to mint from the vault, it will make that happen. So I'll always make sure.
That's so convenient.
You'll get the best price in either direction.
Nice. Kit, I'm not sure if you had any other questions.
Yeah. Are there other LSDs inside OETH?
So right now it's Staked ETH, Rocket Pool ETH, and then FrxETH are the previous supported.
The big three.
The big three.
Yeah. Is there like a desired composition of the big three that you guys want to target, or do you guys kind of let the market do its thing?
For right now, it's a market. This protocol, the code is governed by OGV, which is a governance token. So ultimately, it's going to be up to OGV holders what they want. Like I said, personally, I'd love to see more FrxETH in there because it's returning the highest yield. So we're big fans of that. Lido have there's growing concerns that Lido have too much market share, and we're very happy to root for the little guys, and excited that Frax has been growing so quickly, and but ultimately it's just it's up to the users what they want to deposit.
Yeah, and we're excited to grow with you too, Josh.
Yeah, it's mutual, right? Like we can our growth, we help you grow, and you help us grow. It's not competitive. It's all just additive. So it's we've been longtime fans of Frax. We've actually learned a lot from Frax, and like some of the ideas we've incorporated into OETH. We're really inspired by the Frax team and their approach to the AMO. Thinking about protocol and liquidity and these sorts of things. So it's cool to be able to build on some of the great ideas and the great work that you guys have done.
Likewise. Thanks so much, Josh, for coming on, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Josh.
Sweet. And that was Josh from Origin Protocol. It's so cool to see stuff like that, people building with Frax and growing with Frax, like we said there. It's like it really shows, how much Frax has grown and how it's like pulling others up with it, which is what we want to see.
Positive sum, always.
Positive sum. Something I want to touch on this Frax review. There's been a lot of discussion recently on Twitter of LSDs and Lido taking the majority of market share, and there's a lot of complaining. There's a lot of there's a lot of complaining in the sense that like people are like about like Lido having the most market share, but there's a reason why they got there. They got there because they had the best product and the one that economically and made the most sense to a rational individual to deposit. And they had a combination of like early head start, having the highest yields, and still has like the higher yields compared to RETH. And that is shown with how Press's recent tweet where he was like, yeah, I'm still in ETH because, and he moved over to FrxETH because he was like, as an economically rational individual, it was just rational to move like, not like a huge portion just yet, but just like a little bit. So, it's really interesting now because you have ETH really being the only option for institutions like that want to get size on their liquid staking yield is like that pool. And so like, Kit, what are your whole thoughts on this whole like, people and the LSD concentration of Lido and like where Frax and FrxETH fits into that?
I feel like I've had this, I guess, concern, if you can call it, around Lido since like a very, very much long time, because we have, ETH client diversity. Like there was an initiative pushing for that when I forgot which client was, like, I think maybe it was Geth or something, that had like basically all of it, and they kind of centralized ETH clients into that one single vector of attack. And then now we kind of see the same thing on the staking side. Except arguably the staking side is even more imperative. So I'm surprised it kind of took this long for any strong corral from the community. But if you recall back maybe a couple months ago, like 6 months, a year ago, like Lido had that proposal pushed through that they should kind of self-limit. And that thing got voted down so hard, so fast. Like it's clear, like and we shouldn't blame a project for wanting to succeed. Like, we're asking for it to police itself almost against its interests. I mean, yes, in the overall scheme of things, yes, maybe them limiting themselves would actually be a net gain because people would now trust ETH more and they are a very key ETH player. Maybe, but what is true today is that they are the largest player, and if they were to continue to keep growing, they will be like solidified as the largest player.
Yeah, and I feel like the self-limiting conversation really doesn't start until we get to like 50-60% of the ETH network staked, because that will like most likely be the number of ETH that's staked overall. And if at that point like Lido's still like the overwhelming majority, then like I think we did something wrong. It's like, all right, like we did something wrong, and at the same time, like what's the best way we have to figure out a way to fix it. Self-limiting, there is a precedent to it though. I'm not sure if you know, but like in 2014, there was a Bitcoin miner that got over 51% of the network hash power, and they actually self-limited themselves. So it isn't like, I think when it like comes down to like that point, there's like a self-limiting conversation, but I hope it doesn't get to that point. I hope there's some like real unique, LSD innovations that come about and that take, market share away from Lido, so we can solve this problem like adults.
I think that's honestly the most natural and probably the right way to do it, because I feel like, your example in 2014, that's kind of when things are quite nascent and ideology still kind of had a place, and it could still be ruled by that that quote unquote invisible hand. But I think now we're at a point where that's no longer the case. The economy size is kind of too large, and these economically rational actors will keep pushing. So the only thing that we could do is what FrxETH is doing, is like offering a better product in forms of yield, right? That's the only thing you can do, and you need the market to decide for that. Because I would be hard pressed if, say, FrxETH got to, let's say, just half of Lido's size. That's a lot. That's a pretty big size. At that point, I would be hard pressed that people would still not opt for FrxETH due to its lack of size, and that they can't get in and out, or any liquidity issues, or like kind of any reason goes out the window once FrxETH gets large enough. Like the only hindrance, in my opinion, is its size.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be go ahead.
And that takes time to get to large size.
Yeah, it takes time to get to size, and there are innovations on the horizon. Hell, there's I'm not sure tomorrow. Oh, actually, it'll be today when this is released. But today, Sam is giving an LSD-fi technical presentation for the Dora Hacks Hackathon, and he said he'll be giving some FrxETH V2 Alpha. Yeah, and that will probably revolve around lending, and that will be like the way to decentralize is through that, basically like what the Rocket Pool is doing, but in a more efficient manner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and I'm glad to see that a lot of people are coming out with LSDs.
Yeah.
Because I feel like right now we're at a point where more options are better, and then once because the exact perfect design of an LSD may have been discovered, but may also have not have been discovered. So we kind of need more experimentation going on, especially right now when the total percent of ether being staked is still like a lot more room to grow. Like now's the time to kind of vie for this market share, and may the best winner win.
May the best, most potent LSD win. Do you
Yes.
prefer the term LSD or LST?
Um, I mean, obviously LSD just because it has the more
It's
sticky
catchy.
effect than salinity, and
People are
but
trying to say LST.
yeah,
It
no, no,
doesn't.
no.
It doesn't hit the
I've
same.
heard I've heard LST a couple times. I'm just like, wait, what is that? And then I was like, oh, that doesn't sound as fun.
It's probably more accurately an LST,
Hmm.
but like LST is just more fun to say.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Moving on. We have a few proposals this week I want to go over, mainly revolving around FrxETH. Our good friend Westwood has two interesting proposals to authorize a FrxETH AMO for a new pair for RETH Frax and also STETH Frax. This is, I'm for it. Increase, because it's not like we haven't done this before. We created proposals like to have Maker as collateral, but here
Okay.
you have like RETH as collateral. It'll be real interesting if you have like, I'm waiting for the day that we can, loop with FrxETH instead of looping with lending and borrowing Frax. It's like lending and borrowing FrxETH. I'm sure that day will come, but like that would be real interesting too. But like going back to like this proposal, it's like, what are your thoughts on like having RETH and STETH as collateral?
I think we kind of have to isolate between what's good for Frax, the stablecoin, and versus like what's good for like FrxETH. I think the Frax lend adding RETH instead is good for the Frax stablecoin. Because again, more debt is now denominated in Frax, more pairs and availabilities are given there, and just frankly more market to use a said Frax, the stablecoin, and also to drive more people to want to use LSDs and stake more ETH. So it kind of pushes everything on all fronts. So I think it's a good thing. What I'm more excited about is when we may potentially or not potentially have gauges for Frax lend pairs.
Ooh.
And that projects like that are on FraxLend would vie for some of that gauge emissions.
Yeah, that would be really interesting to see. I believe I'm not sure if Silo ever did that. They might have. I have to check up on them. But having like competitive like gauges for FrxETH for bar. Are you talking about for borrowing, for lending?
Yeah, well, yeah, for borrowing mainly.
Ooh, wow. Then you really like put FrxETH to overdrive. It's funny because like FrxETH has like a pretty solid amount of organic traction. Like
Oh,
you
it
see
does.
it, like,
Yeah,
yeah. And so like if you like have the gauges, then that's gonna like run it up turbo.
yeah. And people may not know this, but if you look under the hood, like the FraxLend AMO is like a large chunk of all the Frax being lent out. So if the gauges do kind of churn on, like I think that would incentivize a lot of non protocol owned liquidity to come in and use
Mm.
FraxLend,
And
which I think is the real ultimate goal.
yeah, and the markets of FrxETH are still like really inefficient. I saw that. I mean, fuck, FXS was like 17% this
Yeah,
week.
yeah, yeah. So you know,
We'll see.
we definitely need more participants on that end.
Yeah. And speaking of FrxLand, it's good to finally see FrxLand being deployed to other chains. We
Yes.
just had the interview with John. Yeah, Alpha Leak. We had an interview with the core team member John about FraxGov. We were talking about FrxLand, and we're getting deployed on Arbitrum with the ARB pair.
Yep.
So it's going to be real cool to see that. Let's see. Other than that, in governance, that's it really. There's like a few other things, but honestly, the most notable thing for the people is the FrxETH pairs. So we're gonna like make this FrxETH review real quick. We had Origin on. We talked about FrxLand. We talked about LSDs a little bit, most relevant topics. Really excited to see that SAM presentation about technical analysis about LSDFi and like what's coming up there. So Frax ecosystem keep chugging along. If you want to chug along with us, make sure.
Before you do that, to add more to the ecosystem, make sure that if you guys are out there creating diagrams, threads, any pods, articles, like dashboard's the hottest one. And if you do any of those, definitely reach out and definitely do because there's a grant, right? Dave, could you share a bit more about the educational grant?
Yes, we're closing in on month 2 of our Frax education incentives for the Frax ecosystem. So if you create an infographic, write a thread, write a beginner or advanced article about any part of the Frax ecosystem, or create a dashboard, you are eligible up to several hundred to maybe like a few $1,000s in FrxETH rewards. So we have details of that in our blog. We'll post the link below. So make sure you go participate. We've been getting tons of submissions. We appreciate everyone that has participated. And, we love to see the community at work. And if you want to see us at work every week and the community and see the latest updates in the Frax community and in DeFi and beyond, make sure you hit that bell button, subscribe. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Flywheel DeFi. Join the convo on Telegram at Flywheel DeFi. Follow me on Twitter at DeFiDave22.
You can follow me at 0xcapital_K.
And subscribe to the newsletter. We'll see you next week. Peace.